Hello everyone. Uh, okay, I'm George. So I'm the senior product manager at Sign at Syncfusion. So let me give you a brief introduction about what I'm going to explain here. So the first thing, we have developed an electronic e-signature product called Sign. Uh, so I'm here to share the lessons we have learned from that. So the first slide, uh, we want to go with the RESTful principle. So whenever we are going to implement an API development, so we need to follow some principles. So first thing is the RESTful principle. So we want to get, whenever you implementing API, so whenever you're listing the document, you have to put, you have to get the request, and when you creating a new resources, so you have to post, similarly the put and get. Also you keep the API or stateless, do not keep it as a dependent API. So similarly we do have, you can utilize resources and URI effectively. So avoid using verbs like get users, create users, then you can just avoid that from using. And apart from that, you can also use filtering, sorting, and paginations. Similar to that, I have shown in the demo, example, like you can use the category books, etc., etc. So pagination, everything. So going to the next thing. So first one is like versioning. So versioning is so important in the aspect of API development. So first thing, it comes around the backward compatibility. So when you're implementing something, we always fear about the backward compatibility. So for first thing is backward compatibility, and the next is about marking up deprecation phase. So I personally prefer to use UI API development, so sorry, UI part in the versioning. So, and the next thing is like securing your API. The first thing is authentication. So we always prefer to use a standard protocol of authentication, which is OAuth. So we can use that as well. And coming to the policy-based authorization in ASP.NETCore, we do have a lot of authorization like role-based authorization, client-based, and even you can have a resource-based authentication to control access to your user, to limit the restriction to the endpoints. So the next thing is like scoped access. So when you're having when you're providing an app access to the OAuth app, you should have to provide some scopes to limit the resources. So that's one important thing. The remaining things are it's a generic thing, like you must have to use HTTPS, and we have to validate all the user inputs from preventing from vulnerabilities as well. And the next thing is we are stick to OpenAPI. So the standard format we used to have a Swagger JSON. So when you provide that Swagger JSON, it would be helpful for the developers to generate that SDK on their own language, and they can also have that API Explorer. Using that Explorer, they can play with your API for testing. So the next slide is using queues. Using queue is more important, like in the API development, for asynchronous processing. So if you have a big task to do, you can just offload that task to the queue, and you can just the acknowledgement, and you can process with the queues in the later time. And this also helps in load balancing, and you can have reliability, like having, if you get thousands of millions of requests, you can have it in a queue and process 100 or thousands based on your resource. Also, it will give you some time to scale up your resources and manage everything. So the next thing is like rate limiting. So rate limiting also is important to introduce for API development. So you can create test and production environment and providing a different layer limit. So to keep them from preventing abuse your API server. Also, it is important to provide response, meaningful response, like with the 429. And the next thing is the health checks. So when you come to the health check, so you should also provide an endpoint for health check for your users or your developers, clients using your endpoints. Also, there are a lot of health check development NuGets are available. You can use that to ensure the health check of your database and other third-party services. And the next thing is like providing a API dashboard. So when the API dashboard is being providing to your user, it will be great helpful for your developers to track their usage metrics, and they can fix their errors when they found something on the production. it will be great helpful. You can just add it in your middleware and just log all the requests and just you can share it with your developers. And the last thing is the webhook. So when you have a webhook, it is so important, as I previously told, that the queues, this will state the status of the process. Also, it will help you to share all the document status or any progress of status you have it in your application. So the next thing, when you are implementing a webhook, it's important to know the HMAC. So it is important to know the payload integrity. So also it is also best practice to provide an IP whitelisting as well. And the last thing is the gRPC. So when it comes to gRPC, when you're providing API development, API to others, to other developers. So you might have multiple microservices within your application. So on having multiple application within, microservices within your application, so it will great to connect with gRPC for high performance, and it will be easy for you to manage as well. So the last thing is like unit testing. So after you build this, so especially if you have used the dependency injection, it will be useful to mock the unit test case. Like you can write all the mocking test case using the dependency injection. So I have created some application over here. So these are the application. I have created a template with all the best practice I have explained here. You can just use this document, use this application on your project. It will be very useful for you. So these are the things. So I have explained the authorization of adding and the versioning and having the list. So everything has been here. So I have 3 projects, which is the main API demo is a main project, and this one is a microservice. This will connect with the gRPC. So, and the last thing is shared project, which is used for authentication. So this is the middleware I use to log all the information, and this is how the policy will be added. You can define many policies, like if it is an admin, you can check for claims for providing the resource restriction. Providing some helpful endpoints here as well. And the other thing is rate limiting, and similarly I have added for the authentication in here. So this is how it will look like. So as I told, everything has been in the Swagger. So Swagger has everything. And also the next thing is the project has been uploaded in GitHub. You can use this as a scratch for your new development. So it might be helpful for you. So the last thing is thank you. And we have finally come to the final slide. So, and we have also a product, web-based bold sign e-signature product, which we have developed using Syncfusion components. Using Syncfusion components, we have reduced our implementation time by 40%. So please come to FP32. So meet us if you have any queries. Thank you.